Aloha and welcome to Thumbing Through Yesterday, the podcast where we pull our favorite books off the shelf, dust them off, and remind ourselves why it is we love them so. My name's Tom Galley, and with me today we've got Tony Pasculi.
Happy to be here.
And what was our selection for today?
Our selection for today is the third book in the Harry Potter series, The Prisoner of Azkaban.
I have, before this, never read any of the Harry Potter books.
I know, and I made you jump in. You had to read the whole first three to get to this one.
I did. And, you know, we talked about this a couple of weeks ago off air. The first two, I was so excited to do this because when you look at movies that are based on books or based on series, inevitably the series, the books are the richer environment and things get left out in the movie. So going to the books, you get more backstory, more character development, more. In the case of Tolkien, more endless description. So I was so excited to plunge into this Harry Potter universe, only to discover that this ain't the case.
Well, we had this conversation after you read the first two books.
Right. So for book
and
one
the first
and book
two books
two,
are pretty thin.
Yeah, they are. They look like the novelization of the film.
Yeah.
There is so little in the books that is not. And I mean, now give the filmmakers credit. They are spot on. The descriptions, the sets, the events, they are spot on. But I mean, the biggest plot point that was in the first two books that wasn't in the first two movies, the Sorting Hat sings a song.
Yeah.
that's it. I mean, literally, there's, so I was disappointed with the books as a reading experience. But you said, what was it you said? They don't get good until the third book,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, this is a change.
Yeah. Is it? So how was that change for you?
Well, it was delightful. I mean, I really got immersed in this book. I really enjoyed it. And now I've only seen this movie once, and it was when it was new. So, my memories of the movie are not crisp or accurate or anything. But I really feel like there was so much more. I was so much more moved by reading the evolution of this story than I had been watching it unfold on the screen.
Yeah, I want to say, because the books get longer as you go, I want to say that Azkaban is about twice as long as each of the previous books. And so if the movies are about the same length, you just leave a lot more out.
Yeah.
You do. Because as we get deeper into the story and deeper into the mythos and deeper into the rise of Voldemort, there's just more. There's just more you have to deal with. And, like the fourth book is even longer and the fifth book is longer than that. Fifth book apparently so long that they had to have her throw about half the manuscript out in order to fit it into one book, is the rumor that I heard. Yeah. So they do get much richer and more complex, and that is why I picked this book, because I love the series. I've read it, 4 times, maybe all the way through. Not counting this time, this would be the 5th time. Not a big fan of the movies, actually. In fact, I don't think I even watched the last one. Yeah,
I have not seen them all, but I was never invested in the Harry Potter saga.
Yeah. So this book, I remember I picked up the first book because everybody was talking about it. Harry Potter. And it's like, not all popular things are good, but sometimes something is so popular that there's something to it. So I'll check it out. I'll see what there is to it. Picked up the first book, and it was very readable, but slight. It's like, whatever. Read the second book just because I had time on my hands, and I needed a book to read. Boom. Read the third book for the same reason, and just instantly hooked. I'm just like, oh, yeah, now we're dealing with some shit. Now the stakes are real. The consequences are there for the characters. It gets suddenly very dark. There's some darkness in the first 2 books. There's a threat of death from the, what is the monster? It's not a cockatrice. It's the other one.
Basilisk.
There's some threat. But nobody actually dies, right?
Yeah.
It's just everyone gets sort of like, oh, and they skate through the first book, just sort of, solving puzzles and doing crimes, and woo, it all works out in the end. And this book, there's very real consequences. We have Sirius Black, who escapes from the, Azkaban. And Azkaban is just the existence of Azkaban is dark. Oh my God!
What a god awful place.
Yeah.
I don't see how this is better than summary execution, for the people who, or what's left of the people who are sent there.
It's better for Sirius Black because he gets out. But for anyone who doesn't, most other people who get sent to Azkaban are insane and dead within a year.
Yep.
As happens to
Which
another
I
character.
have issue with. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, what's your issue with that?
Well, Sirius Black survives because he had in his head a fact which was not a happy memory, right? And the Dementors suck happiness away until there's nothing left of you, and then finally, in the end, they take your soul. You're telling me of all the people that were in there, Sirius Black is the only person who had a not happy memory in his head. Really?
I don't remember reading that. I remember reading something else.
He said, I knew I was innocent, and that fact was not a happy one. So the Dementors couldn't take it from me. That was the one and only thing that kept him sane. You're telling me nobody else in there had a joy-neutral fact stuck in their head to cling to?
I took that differently. So I remembered exactly that. The fact that he was innocent means that they couldn't destroy him. So I guess they couldn't take the memory because it wasn't happy. So he got to hold on to the memory, and that memory of his innocence is what gave him strength. Yeah, that he didn't actually belong there. If you take away everybody else's happy memories, then what they're left with are bad memories of the actual crimes that they did. And that's what drives them insane. But what he's left with is his innocence. So I took that differently. I don't know.
Okay, all right.
Because they're for better or for worse, most of the people who are in Azkaban belong there. You know, they're Death Eaters. They're horrible people.
Which is a term we haven't been introduced to yet.
Yes, we get a lot of new lore in this one. We get the Death Eaters. We get the Dark Mark. Wait, do we?
No.
That's the book 4. Never mind. I was not going to do this, and I skipped ahead to book 4, and I was like, no, I'm going to get it mixed up.
Well,
in
it's
my
in
head.
the movies, right? So, I mean, I know that it's coming, but it's not a surprise. But yeah.
And we get the Dementors, who are just awful. If anything, they're even worse than Azkaban. And we start to get a hint of how tremendously fucked up the wizarding world is. And Dumbledore is kind of a bastion against the darkness of protecting these kids from gross incompetence and outright evil. So they actually bring the Dementors to the school where they can attack the students. And he's like, no, not on my watch. And then it happens again.
Yep.
It happens again. It's just like, and this is all a prelude for what happens in book 5, which is just like, will make you tear your hair out. Yeah.
Now, in the first 2, Dumbledore, we're led to believe, knows what Harry Potter and crew are up to and turns a blind eye.
Yeah.
And maybe even facilitates it in very indirect ways. You know, but here's the first time we actually have him telling them, do this thing, break the rules, save these lives directly, and, telling them how to do it.
Yeah. Dumbledore, he's an authority figure for the kids, but he's really a rebel. He's on the side of the rebels, you know? Yeah. So he is very anti-establishment. Hogwarts is his own fiefdom, and he defends it. Yeah. Now I'm getting mixed. So this is the one with Buckbeak also.
Yes, this is the one with Buckbeak.
Yes, and the Time Turner.
And the Time Turner.
Which I had a big problem with the first time I read this book. I'm like, are you kidding me? You've got time travel technology, and the best use you can think of it is to give this kid extra credits. Come on.
So I don't remember in the movies. I feel like Hermione had the Time Turner as a secret. I don't remember it being endorsed, but I might be remembering that wrong. But yeah, my expectation, just because it's Harry Potter and crew, was that she had gotten this on the sly and was doing this without people's knowledge. And it turns out, no.
They just gave it to her.
And they gave her instructions on how to use it. And they were supervising to make sure that she was doing it correctly. It's like, okay.
Now, that's one thing I approve of, is that they recognize that some of these students are responsible, and they start to give them adult responsibilities very early on. They don't just treat them like children. They become, well, in the later books, not right away, but even in this book, they get enlisted in the fight against darkness, as kids, how old are you in the 3rd book?
They're 13 in this one.
13, yeah, okay.
Right, because he's just had his 13th birthday.
Yeah, that's pretty young to be, fighting the Dark Wizard.
Yeah, a little bit. So either the good guys are absolutely desperate to have this new line of defense against the dark, or they are just bad at their jobs of protecting the kids.
Well, it's pretty clear that most of them are bad at their jobs.
Yeah.
We don't get that. That's a theme that starts to develop in the fourth book. We have Cornelius Fudge, who's the Minister of Magic, who's just so incompetent it borders on malice. Yeah, he's pretty bad. So, yeah.
Yeah. He shows up in this one a few times, but
Yeah, he's
we don't see him doing much of anything,
Yeah,
other than the fact that Dumbledore bows to his authority.
yeah,
Right, he's going to allow the execution of Buckbeak. He does allow the Dementors around the school, not into the school, but
Yes.
around the school.
Yeah.
These are things he does not want to do, but they're forced upon him.
yeah, yeah. But then I think, Dumbledore is also an active participant in Buckbeak's escape. So,
This is true.
yeah. So, yeah.
They put a lot of emotional energy into Buckbeak.
I think that's deliberate. I think it's easier to focus your attention on an innocent creature completely. Buckbeak is completely innocent,
Yeah.
right? Falsely maligned by Draco Malfoy, scumbag that he is, because to raise the stakes, what are we going to do? We're going to kill a kid. We're going to kill a kid in this book, and then rescue them at the last minute. That's pretty heavy.
That is. It
Although
would be.
that's exactly where we go in book 4. Spoiler, yeah. So.
Well, I mean, we effectively go there because the Dementors get Harry Potter and friends, or very nearly get Harry
Yeah.
Potter and friends.
Yeah.
So like you said, that threat is really there this time.
Yes. Yeah, it really is.
Although in the previous one, right, the people who were paralyzed by the basilisk, nobody knew what was going on with them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess there were stakes in that.
And this is the one with the Whomping Willow also, right?
Well, the Whomping Willow has been around, right? Because it tore the car up. They were late. They missed the train to Hogwarts in the second book. Dobby wouldn't let them on the platform, so they stole the Weasley's flying car
right. That's the second
and
book.
landed
Yeah,
in the
okay.
right, and then the car saves them from the spiders. So I mean, the Whomping Willow has been around, but now we know why the Whomping Willow was planted.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that's
Yes.
giving putting a lot of importance on trusting. Oh, who is Lupus?
Yeah.
It bugs me the way that the names are so on point.
Yeah.
Lupus is the werewolf. Snape, Slytherin.
Yeah.
I mean, I can kind of see why I should do it to have fun, but really,
Yeah.
are they going to have a Darky McDarkson in there who's clearly going to be a bad guy, and it has the, whatever herbology class?
I don't know if we've encountered Bellatrix Lestrange yet, but that one's pretty on point too for one of the bad witches, bad wizards. Yeah. It's, I don't know. When you read a kid's book, it's hard to know, do I excuse this because it's a kid's book, or do I just go, this is a sticking point for me?
Well, it's just a little annoyance. And, I would argue, I mean, now that we've gotten up to book 3, I don't know you could call this a kid's book.
But it is. I mean, it's aimed at, it's definitely YA. Yeah. It's not a children's book. It's YA.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
definitely YA. But it's getting quite dark. The stakes are quite serious. But here's the thing, and you I'm sure read adult fiction when you were a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's this idea that kids' books have to be sanitized for kids, and kids don't want that.
No, kids don't.
They can deal with dark. It's sometimes better than adults. Adults read about a child dying, and they're just like, "Oh my God, I'm destroyed," and kids are just like, "Oh man, it sucks to be that kid." Next in the series, yeah.
So she does something as a writer that has always annoyed me.
Shoot.
We spend chapter 1 playing catch up for people who haven't bothered to read the first 2 books.
Yes.
And then 2 or 3 times in the middle of the book, we take little asides to play catch up, just in case people haven't read the first 2 books. That has just always annoyed me. No, don't cater to those people. Make them go back and read the first 2 books.
I don't think it's for people who haven't read the first 2 books. I think it's for the people who waited patiently 2 years for this book to come out and didn't have time to read the first 2 books a second time.
Oh, it sucks to be them.
Yeah, it does suck to be them. I would always just reread the whole sequence when the next book came out.
I'm doing that with Game of Thrones, assuming a new Game of Thrones book ever comes out. And that's a commitment, having to start at book 1, page 1.
Yeah, I think you're going to be holding your breath a long time on that one.
Yeah, this might not happen before the 6 months are up, right?
Yeah.
That's a reference to the podcast we just recorded about On the Beach. For those of you that actually have waited patiently 2 weeks to listen to this one.
Yeah, I think George R.R. Martin has given up finally at this point. I don't know he's officially given up, but I think in his heart he's given up. Usually when I read these books, I just rip through them in order, boom, boom, boom. But if you are waiting as they're coming out, I don't mind a little refresher, and it's a couple pages, so it's not bad.
Donaldson has a very different approach. He spends the first 40 or 50 pages of his book with a summary, right? And as you get further, like into the Thomas Covenants thing, the summaries become extensive.
Yeah.
But he doesn't waste time in story revisiting it.
Interesting. Is that in the first trilogy? I don't remember that.
Yeah. So in the second book, so is it Lord Falsbane?
Lord Falsbane is
Power that preserves the One Tree.
the Ill-Earth War.
The Ill-Earth Wars. Okay, I'm mixing.
I think. Or maybe it's the One
There's
Tree.
two trilogies. Anyway,
Yeah.
the second book does indeed have a summary of the first book, and the third book does indeed have a summary of books 1 and 2. We're talking about everything except the book
Yeah,
at hand.
yeah. All right, so you're talking about Rowling as a writer, and one of the traits you don't like. And I'll say there's a couple of things, and I excuse this because again, kids' book. Like there's a couple of things that just kind of drive me nuts. Like Bernie Bott's Every Flavored Beans. Who on earth would buy this ridiculous candy where you have no idea?
Dude, I would so buy that.
Really?
Totally.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. I would be excited. It's like, what is going to be in my mouth next? Skunk foot?
Yeah.
I mean,
Vomit, booger. I mean, these are actual flavors that come up in the book.
I know. Well, and that was such a wasted opportunity because, I mean, every time that they've done it, they've picked something really obvious. Like you mentioned, vomit, booger,
Yeah.
earwax.
Yeah.
There hasn't been any creativity that I've seen with the Every Flavored Beans. But, I mean, we don't need a novel about Every Flavored Beans.
It's literally every flavor. So there are so many possible flavors that even if there was one that you liked, like popcorn or, licorice, or I don't like licorice, but what are the odds of you ever getting it again?
Darn near infinitesimal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Anyway, that aside, and there's a couple of things like that, and the time turner and some of the more ridiculous
What
things.
is your problem with the time turner?
My problem with the time turner, it's the problem. It's the sonic screwdriver from Doctor Who. It's the transporter from Star Trek. It's the device that will solve all your problems, but we're only going to use it in this episode. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. That is staggeringly powerful magic.
Yeah.
And even if we were to accept the fact that Hermione is such a precious and talented prodigy that it's not unrealistic, irresponsible, to let her use it, it should be in use for other things.
Yeah.
Like, for example, when the kid got petrified and nobody knew what was going on.
Yeah.
How did this kid get petrified?
Why don't we just do
Why exactly didn't we find out and or prevent it?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. So it's not the concept itself; it's the fact that it's
it's the same as
a convenience for one
the
story.
Sorcerer's Stone in the first book. Oh, these guys invent a Sorcerer's Stone that allows you to live forever, but they're the only ones that use it. They kind of think it's cool, but then they give it up because whatever. It's like, what? Come on. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we do get Voldemort is interested in that, but I would think other people would be interested as well, Not just evil people that just want to live a little longer. Yeah.
Which is not in and of itself evil.
Yeah. So that's it. So there's a lot of excesses like that. A lot of stuff. I'm just like, she just throws it out there because it's fun, and she doesn't really consider the consequences, and that annoys me. Or no, I don't want to say she doesn't consider the consequences because I think she does. I think she's a very sharp writer. I think she doesn't explore the consequences, and this to me is one of the hallmarks, one of the dividing lines between fantasy and science fiction. So fantasy, you're doing some world building and it's cool and it's wonderful and whatever. And in science fiction, it's like, okay, we're going to change this. What are all the things that happen if I change that? Okay. All the things. And the best science fiction just goes, well, that's the obvious thing, and that's the second order effect, and then, and she just doesn't do that. But she does a lot of other stuff that is just amazing. And I think she doesn't get credit for it as a writer. I actually, when I was in grad school for creative writing, I actually was going to do this as a project, and my professor shot it down. They're like, Harry Potter. But I wanted to just go through a book and map out these different things that she does in terms of conflict, anticipation, delight, and there was one other quality. And I think she does a really good thing of bringing those things into almost every page. Almost every page, there's something delightful, and it's just some weird spell or a burny, it's kind of crazy candy, chocolate frogs or whatever. Anticipation, there's like some mystery. There's always a mystery. And then conflict. I mean, you got the Malfoys just going around doing nasty stuff. And it's a constant stew of these things, all just kind of going, never focus on any one thing too long. Just bringing all these elements in again and again and again and again. And it's very effective. It makes it very compelling reading. And again, it's aimed at a younger grade level for reading, but the books are page turners. Yeah, they really are. So, and they're fun to read. Yeah.
She does not, I mean, and Sorcerer's Stone was her first book, right? She was not an established writer. She just came out of nowhere with this. And we commented on it being thin and not maybe having as much substance as these later books, but it's not a slouch. It's a fun read. It's got fun characters. She has built a fun world. Yeah, bang out the door there. You know?
Yeah. It's good. And she very cleverly makes Harry an orphan, which is, traditional. But it sets him apart, makes him both a superstar and an object of pity. So we get his sympathy, but also we get to cheer along with the hero. But she sticks him with the Dursleys, who are just horrible people. And so immediately we get his sympathy again with that. The one thing that stands out to me when I read the first book again is how much of the first chapter is all about the Dursleys, and how perfectly ordinary they are and how they hate, things that are not ordinary. And they're not ordinary. They're horrible, horrible people. They stand out as being particularly awful. And it's a weird imbalance in that book. It's the one time, because he's always with the Dursleys and they're always being terrible to him, but there's a real focus on the Dursleys for the first chapter or so that seems kind of out of place for the series. Yeah.
Now, this is one of the, and again, like I said, it's a young adult book, so in a way it's kind of a trope. I always have a problem swallowing unconditionally vile characters. The Dursleys, the Malfoys, Snape. I'm sorry, people who are that unremittingly bad would be killed. They would not make it very far in life. They would not have friends. They wouldn't have positions of authority. There has to be redeeming characteristics to them. Otherwise, they would not integrate into a society at all.
Well, they don't. I mean, look at Snape and Snape. But
there are depths to Snape that we haven't plumbed yet.
Yes, yeah, and he has reasons for his particular hatred of Harry. Yeah, but then also look at Malfoy the Younger, whose name I forget, Draco. Yeah. He does suffer the consequences.
Yeah, I mean, his
two best friends are
shit.
idiots, Crabbe and Goyle. He's not hanging out with the cool kids. He's hanging out with Crabbe and Goyle. And he also has reason to be who he is because his dad is Lucius Malfoy, a Death Eater. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but I can't imagine Lucius looking at Draco and being, I am proud of that. Because, like you said, he's hanging out with idiots, and his only delight, his pleasure is in bullying what? A Muggle-born? And I mean, the son has okay, that's not true. He does become Seeker of the Slytherin team, and apparently he's pretty decent at that. Yeah. But we're never giving any reason to think he's even a moderately decent wizard. At least so far we haven't been.
But neither is Harry, for that matter.
I mean, whatever. This is something that I have issues with, believing in characters that are just this one-dimensional. It's like in Half Space Suit Will Travel.
Ace.
Ace, yeah, with the stupid laugh.
Yeah.
What was it? Yuckity yuck yuck.
That was pretty bad. That's the clunkiest part of that book.
Yeah, it's. People like that wouldn't make it through a day without getting punched in the face, And okay, so you're a super powerful wizard and you evaporate them and people run in fear and maybe you can maintain that. But, anyway. I would like to see, and again, it's a young adult, right? So we can't be that complicated, right? We can't have bad guys with complex motives. They just have to be clearly bad guys and that's it. We put them in a black suit and poof, they're the bad guy. Yeah.
Now, we do get bad guys with complex motives, but, there's a whole trend right now to redeem all the bad guys and turn them into misunderstood guys. There are no heroes and villains. This is sort of contemporary.
Right.
And that's not a trend I'm in favor of either. It's like, it's good to have actual villain. Like, okay, over in the D&D forums, they're talking about how orcs are being retconned to just be a different species. And they love their children, and they have little orc families, and they, it's like, no, they were created out of pure evil, and their whole job is to just, rip and destroy, and there's nothing redeeming about them. But people are like, no, you can't do that. That's racist. And it's like, they're orcs, man. It's not another race. They're orcs. So, yeah.
Although I did find it just a little bit fun that they actually had guard trolls in this, right? So the first book, the second book, whatever, there's a troll in the building that gets loose in the building, and there's lockdown, and our heroes have to fight the troll on their own, and trolls are painted as bad and stupid, and yet here we've got good guy trolls appearing. Minor supporting roles, but we've got good guy trolls appearing.
So now, to your point, Draco and Lucius never bothered me, but the fact that there was a whole evil house kind of bothered me. It's like, what, all the evil people are Slytherin? Like, why would anyone want to be in Slytherin? I mean, there's in the entire 7-book series, I don't think there's anyone good who's in Slytherin. Snape comes out of Slytherin, and he's arguably got some good qualities.
Well, again, depth. Yeah. His character ends up having depth.
Yeah. But that bothered me. It's like, we got, the hero house, the smart house, the house that likes cookies, and the evil house.
The house that likes cookies.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if you've seen. There's a play. There's a Harry Potter play. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
No.
Cursed Child, probably. It's like a 6-hour play, and you have to see it on 2 different nights. And the whole thrust of this play is to redeem Slytherin as a house, because Harry grows up and he marries, what's her name, Ginny, and he has a kid who he names Albus after Albus Dumbledore. Mm-hmm. And his kid gets sorted into Slytherin. And, that's like a big deal. It's like, oh my God, my kid's a Slytherin. It's like, well, no, they're not actually an evil house, Harry. I was like, I know, but it's Slytherin.
Well, Harry himself almost ended up, or may well have ended up in Slytherin.
Right? Yeah.
He asked not to be in Slytherin, but the hat says, are you sure? You would go far in Slytherin.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, we could have had the hero character in the Slytherin house. That might be interesting.
That's a very interesting thing. That happened in the first book.
Yep.
And I think that's pretty intelligent. And Harry would make an excellent Slytherin. He doesn't like to play by the rules, He likes to go his own way. He's a little bit lazy. He likes to cut corners. He's perfect Slytherin material. And yet he's very ambitious. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has a chip on his shoulder. So, yeah. I think I was telling you before we started, I took no notes on this book. I was planning to take all these notes. I had these thoughts about the book as I was reading it. And then when it came down to read it, I just read it. I just ripped through this thing, and I didn't pause for a second. So.
Well, there was all right. Another thing that I won't say bothered me, but I found misplaced. Mm-hmm. There is a mass murdering, high-powered wizard stalking students in the school.
Yeah.
And what is our priority? Winning at Quidditch and the House Cup. For the love of pickles, people! It's murder, death, students, Dementors. No! Sports season is canceled. Yeah. House competition is canceled. I remember these came out more or less in the same window that the Lord of the Rings movies did. And I had a friend who said, I just can't take the Harry Potter movies seriously. In the Lord of the Rings, they're trying to save the world from evil. In the Harry Potter movies, they're worried about the House Cup.
Yeah.
And that has stuck with me. I think that's a very valid critique. There are some seriously misplaced priorities. Not that they aren't trying to save the world, but they'll only save the world as long as they can still play Quidditch and get the House Cup.
Because there's this plan to do 7 books for the 7 forms, there's kind of a formula that she wants to adhere to. And when she breaks from the formula, it's actually kind of unsettling in like the 7th book, where the kids are not even in school anymore. And it's just kind of like the characters feel adrift, and it's less satisfying. I think your point is valid, but I think there's a sort of satisfying reassurance to knowing that school starts and it ends, and in between there are classes and a house cup, and there are threats which create adventure, but ultimately there's a schedule and we got to stick to it.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't have any problem with the classes and that type of structure. It just seems a bit misplaced.
So it didn't bother you? They didn't evacuate the whole school when the basilisk was running around?
Oddly enough, no, I do not. Although they definitely should have done more to have not individuals running around at the time.
I would think, 3 students are already paralyzed. Let's get everybody home. Boom. We'll let you know when it's safe to come back. And then the grown-ups go and they kill the basilisk or figure out at least what the problem is. They didn't know what it was. But no, it's just like, okay, trying to stay safe. Don't wander around at night alone. But as you were,
So I don't know. I mean, they make a lot of noise about valuing their kids' safety, and they put silly rules in place to ensure that the kids will violate them in ways meant to not be safe.
Yeah.
With the power at their fingertips, one would think they could do a better job of locking down the school.
So you got to refresh my memory because like I said, I went on and read the 4th book. It's in this book where Hagrid sends them into the forest to talk to the spiders, right?
No, that was in the second.
That was in the previous book.
Yeah, that was in the previous book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's also, it's just like, well, go talk to the spiders. They're a friend of mine. And the spiders are like,
was under duress.
We're going to eat you. We're going to eat you.
Hagrid was being arrested. They were hiding in his house under the invisibility cloak. We don't know what the plot is. He doesn't know what the plot is, but he knows that the only people with a chance of uncovering it are our little triad of troublemakers. So he's like, just saying, if somebody wanted to learn something, follow the a
Yeah.
Doesn't occur to him. Of course, I mean, he's safe. He goes in there all the time. He's a friend to the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it does. I like to think it doesn't occur to him that the most likely outcome is they'll be eaten.
Yeah, I think Hagrid has a track record of underestimating the danger of some of the creatures he deals with. Yeah, for sure.
Well, he does in this one, Male Harry or Owl Post Harry, a biting book.
Yeah.
So, he's half giant. We can cut him a little slack there.
Yeah. So speaking of creatures which are evil or maybe misunderstood, the giants are pretty widely perceived to be evil. But there's a couple of good giants, the half giants, and maybe the giants can be persuaded to fight on the side of good, but they're mostly... Actually, that's the 4th book again. Sorry.
I was going to say that we have yet to meet a giant.
Hagrid's
a half giant.
Hagrid's a half giant. Yeah. We don't meet a book, and we don't meet a giant in this book or the next book, but there's talk of the giants in the next book. Yeah.
Something that I highlighted, I just thought was cute. They're talking about the burning of witches. There's a passage here. On the rare occasion that they did catch a real witch or wizard, burning had no effect whatsoever. The witch or wizard would perform a basic flame-freezing charm, then pretend to shriek with pain while enjoying a gentle, tickling sensation. Indeed, Wendelin the Weird enjoyed being burned so much that she allowed herself to be caught no less than 47 times. The page doesn't want to turn. 47 times in various disguises. I thought that was just charming.
That was fun. But again, that's a place where I feel like, oh, let's burn this witch. Wait, they haven't actually been burned. They're still there. There
are questions, right? Yeah. She seems remarkably unburned.
Yeah.
But again, this is just a demonstration of, assuming that this does work, these witches and wizards, they have stunning amounts of power that they're really choosing not to wield in useful ways.
Yes. This is interesting. One of the books on my list, and we have not talked about it yet, The Magicians by Lev Goldman. Have you read The Magicians?
They made a TV series out of that, didn't they? I think I have seen the series but not read it.
Pretty terrible TV series.
It was indeed pretty terrible.
Yeah.
I think it was one of those that I gritted my teeth and stuck with it because there was something I liked about how the story was trying to unfold, but the actors and the stupid plots kept getting in the way.
Yeah, it's very silly. And one of the biggest mistakes they make is they abandon the school far too early for Fillory. In the first book, most of it takes place in the school, and Fillory comes much, much later. But one of the themes of this book is, what would you actually do if you were a magician and you had this much power? You'd be a little bit insane, right? You use it for good and for evil and for pleasure, and and you'd kind of lose your way in the world when you could do literally anything. What do you do? You know? Yeah. So it's kind of an amazing book in that way. I like to think of it as Harry Potter meets Less Than Zero.
Okay.
It's grim and it's amazing, and it's one of my favorite books. And if we don't do it next time, we'll do it one of these times. Yeah. So.
Oh, this has just been a recurring thing. The Weasley dad wins some money, and Ron is so excited because it means they can afford to buy him a new wand. Harry's rich,
Yeah.
right? He has a giant cavern in Gringotts full of precious metals and jewels. He is rich, stinking, filthy, billionaire level rich.
Mm-hmm.
This is like your critique of Batman, or of Bruce Wayne, rather.
Yeah.
He's a billionaire. He could do so much more with his money than putting on a rubber suit and going out and beating up, cutthroats and pinch pockets. Same thing with Harry. I mean, he doesn't need to become a central charity, but he didn't buy Ron a new wand when this wand got broken, and it got broken defending Harry's honor, little stuff like that.
They make a big deal out of the fact that Ron wouldn't accept it. If Harry tried to buy him a wand, he wouldn't take it. He'd be offended at the charity. Yeah. He would have to sneak it to him somehow as some sort of gift or anonymous.
Lord knows Harry Potter's no good at sneaking things.
Yeah. I mean, he could do it. Yeah. And I don't think he's a billionaire. I think he's a kid who has no appreciation for what this money system is or how much it works. All he knows is he's got a pile of gold, and most people don't have a pile of gold. But this is it. This is all the money he has to last in the rest of his life until he gets a job, until he graduates, until he turns 18. Yeah. So I don't know. He's wealthy by most of these kids' standards, but I don't know if he's wealthy by say, Ron's parents' standards, who own a house and a car and sending their kids to private school, I can only assume. And, yeah. So
I don't know. I think a vault full of gold and jewels counts as
if you were 13
wealthy.
years old and you saw a vault full of stacks of $100 bills, wrapped in bundles, you might think you were rich. And then if you counted it, you probably go, that's like $200,000. You're not rich, dude. You had enough to put a down payment on a house in Oahu.
How big a pile would $200,000 be in nicely wrapped $100 bills?
One stack is about $20,000. Is that should be like 10 bricks. 10 bricks. So it would be a stack about.
That's not a vault filled with a mountain.
All right. I'll concede the point.
Well, it's fair to say that he has no idea what. Because, he has been raised by the Dursleys. He's had no Muggle money to speak of. And now he's thrown into this world. He doesn't know what money really can do or what the scale is. Actually, in this particular book, several times they make reference to him spending money and being worried about running out because of whatever he's got on his hand. So, I will buy the assessment that he doesn't have a very accurate idea of what his money could do. Yeah. Okay,
right.
Never mind. Forget it. I'll withdraw that objection.
That said, how much could a wand be? Come on, dude. Hook your boy.
Well, this really stuck with me when I was looking at when they were drooling over the Thunderbolt, Firebolt. Yeah. It's like, okay, that might be something so insanely expensive that it would really tap his resources to buy one flat out. Yeah. But he sure could have bought Ron a wand.
Yeah. So I don't know if I have anything else on this other than I find these books so compelling, so much fun to read, that I had a hard time stopping after this one. I went right on to number 4, and now they're all jumbled up in my head.
There was a kid, when we started this book, we get a description of Scabbers, including a missing toe. And I remember thinking, that's going to become important. And then I was trying to remember, from my vague memory of the movies, is that important in this book, or is this important in the next one? Because if it had been important in the next one, I really would have given J.K. some points there. So I kind of would like to go back, just an intellectual thing, and read through book 1, book 2, just looking at Scabbers' description and see, has she set this up beforehand, or did she not come up with it until she sat down to write book 3?
I don't know how much she outlined the entire series. I know that when she went into her publisher, she had the manuscript for the first book, and they said, we like it. And she said, that's great, because I have 7 of them planned. She had a plan for all 7. She had the broad arc plan from book 1. And then I also know that she does outlines like nobody's business for each individual volume. Like she doesn't, like when I outline a novel, I tape down a couple of pages of sort of bullet points and da-da-da-da-da. And that's, I got like this. She has, like, the serial killer's chart room with graph paper everywhere. And she divides it up into columns, and she tracks every character and their interactions. And she's going, in this scene, it's like this. But then we have these threads that connect between chapters. She plans all of that in advance, and it's insane. And you can see that in this book, with all the work she had to do to make the Buckbeak plot work by going back in time, avoiding the places where they'd already been, and having it all come out neatly in the end. Yeah. So
now this is a really convoluted plot, and it really, you have to really pay attention, but it does really work. Which is why, again, I would like to go back and see, has she planted anything in the first 2 books to remotely suggest that Scabbers is anything other than the family rat? Because he has not been the family rat as long as Ron's have him.
Yeah. I think she does, but I can't say what specifically, just because I think that's how she operates. Yeah.
I would hope so.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, if you enjoy that sort of thing, and you've never read, she went on to write several books for adults, notably The Casual Vacancy, which I've never read, tried to, found it very dull, but a very good detective series called the Cormoran Strike series. And
I'm watching the Cormoran Strike series on Netflix right now, and I saw her name in the credits. I was like, hey.
Yeah. She wrote those under a pseudonym, Richard Galbraith, and they did pretty well. And she wanted to do that deliberately because she wanted to see if she could make her way as a writer without leaning on her name. And as soon as they picked up a little bit of steam, her publisher leaked who they were actually written by, and they got a huge boost from that.
Right.
But they did get published on their own merit.
That was Stephen King with what was his pseudonym that he released?
Richard Bachman.
Richard Bachman, the Richard Bachman books.
Now, he had a different motivation there. He wasn't trying to prove himself that he could write as someone other than Stephen King and still get published. His publisher just said, we can only publish 2 Stephen King books a year. He's like, but I've got 2 more books. And they said, well, we'll give you a different name.
I did not know that part of the story.
Yeah. But the Cormoran Strike mysteries, the level of plotting and convolution is insane. It makes this look like child's play. Yeah. This makes this look like a book for kids. And it's just, oh my God, they're so dense. And I'm trying to reason through this. It's like, yeah, I guess we did see that guy at the window, but then there was a noise from and she has this all worked out. Yeah. So,
well, watching the show, even if you're attentive to it, she doesn't pull any surprises. She doesn't do the unseen character or anything like that.
Yeah.
When he finally puts the pieces together and he does the revelation, it flows, but I don't think in the TV show that we're shown enough that we could have put it together. And I wonder if it's different. I wonder if the books, if everything is actually there.
I suspect that everything is there, but also I've read the books a couple of times through, and even the second time through, I'm just like, oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, because it's not easy. Yeah, but she definitely has. Unlike Agatha Christie, who apparently would just write the book and then decide at the end who the murderer was. Yeah. Yeah. Or who are the guys that wrote Lost? Yeah. Just like, yeah, we'll figure it out at the end. We just throw some shit in
Lost,
there.
X-Files.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Clearly things... Well, X-Files, he had no clue that it was going to be as popular as it was or run as long as it did. So...
I heard a theory about X-Files that... I mean, they didn't have a lot of the stuff worked out, but they did have the broad arc worked out, which was that we start with the true believer, Mulder, and the skeptic, Scully, and then over the course of 7 seasons, they switch places. Mm-hmm. That was the gist of the show. Yeah, we just had that arc as these 2 characters slowly exchange places. So now she's the true believer and he's the skeptic, and then it ran 9 seasons. And like, now what do we do? Yeah. So
the owls and the newts, the ordinary
wizarding levels,
and the nastily exhausting wizarding tests.
Yes,
I love that. we're definitely, we're not even going to pull any punches here. We're going to tell you what it is: the nastily exhausting wizard's tests.
Yeah. And these are the analogs to the British system of A levels and O levels, which I've never actually honestly understood. So, and didn't bother to look up for this.
Haven't even heard of them. So
Yeah. So apparently when you graduate a certain step of school, there's a point at which you take a bunch of tests, which are O levels, and then later you do A levels, and you can have different accomplishments in different ones of them. And so if you go to a job interview, I know this from a Monty Python sketch.
okay,
Person comes in to interview, and they're like, name O levels 8, A levels 2, yeah, and they just note that down that they 8 O levels and 2 A levels. Yeah, that's all I know. Yeah.
okay. Well, all you need to know from Monty Python.
Yeah.
Got some other things highlighted, but
Oh, go for it.
let's see here.
I have nothing else highlighted, but if you say something, I'll have an opinion about it.
Harry Potter has Peter Pettigrew under his wand and doesn't kill him. And he's lamenting that. Dumbledore's talking to him. This is magic at its deepest, most impenetrable, Harry. But trust me, the time may come when you will be very glad you saved Pettigrew's life. This is Gandalf talking to Frodo about Gollum.
Yes. Yeah.
She lifted that scene straight out of Tolkien. I'm sorry. This is clearly that. Not saying it's wrong.
Yeah,
right?
it's also, I would say, it's a common sense. You don't want to teach 13-year-olds, yeah, you should have killed him, dumbass. He's going to come back to haunt us someday. No, you don't want 13-year-olds to have that be their takeaway.
And yet so often
Yeah,
it would
yes.
have been the more prudent course of action.
I agree. When someone shows you they're truly evil, we were talking about this a lot in Farewell to Arms. Mm-hmm. It's like when you make up your mind to kill somebody, kill them.
Not Farewell to Arms. For whom the bell tolls.
For whom the bell tolls. That's it. Yeah, for whom the bell tolls.
Yep. If you're going to kill him, kill him.
Yeah. Don't hint that you're going to kill them and give them an opportunity to kill you instead. Yeah. Make the decision, execute. Yeah. So
Yeah, like Tuco says in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, if you're going to shoot, shoot.
yeah. Don't talk about it.
Yeah.
But again, 13.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
And that would be, that changes who the hero is, right? Had Harry actually done that,
Yeah.
she'd have some character development, right? Wouldn't she?
Yeah. And then he had him under his wand. How was he going to kill him?
He was going to wizard him to death. I don't know. We don't get the particulars there.
Because we do get into the particulars in the next book. We learn about the unforgivable curses. You kill
Right.
somebody with one of the unforgivable curses, you go to Azkaban. They are literally unforgivable.
But that came from Tolkien, just saying.
Oh, sure. I
Tolkien probably was not the first person to write it either.
No.
But
Yeah, but that's direct. That's a direct lift for sure.
I just thought I got a giggle out of the very end when he's going back to the Dursleys. And he tells them he's got a godfather. And they're like, you don't have a godfather. Yes, I have, said Harry brightly. He was my mom and dad's best friend. He's a convicted murderer, but he's broken out of wizard prison and he's on the run. He likes to keep touch with me, though. Keep up with my news. Check if I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't threaten you. I can't do magic against you.
But he can. Yeah.
Yeah, he's an escaped murderer.
He's got nothing to
And
lose.
he likes me.
I did like that. I was so happy for Harry that he was going to go and live with Sirius Black,
even if I hadn't seen the movie, even if
Yeah.
I didn't know it, it's like this is like a series of unfortunate events. It simply cannot end in Harry Potter's favor.
Yeah.
Ever. Even when he's triumphant and he wins, it's not going to matter. He's still going to be downtrodden.
Yeah.
He's still going to have the haters. There are always haters going to hate. But
Yeah.
it's like, oh, yep. We're near the end of the book, and he's found out that Sirius is, in fact, a good guy, and Sirius actually his closest thing he's got to family is going to end happily. Okay, Sirius has got to die, right?
Yeah.
Well, Sirius didn't die, so I got that wrong, but
Yeah. Again, structurally, you have 4 more books to go after this. If everything goes well for him here, where do you go from there? What if he just because he's already the captain of the Quidditch team? What if he was also a good student, or at least a diligent student? and he got to live with his godfather, and he's already rich, and it's like he would be insufferable.
He'd have so
as a
much to
character.
lose, though, right?
He would. Well, you could take it away
That
from
would be
him
where
again.
you take it structurally.
Yeah.
You give him something and you take it away.
Well, they do.
He becomes bitter and he rises and joins forces with he who shall not be named. This is alternate history. This is parallel Potter.
He gets the offer, and the offer does get rug pulled, so that's nice. But it happens in the same book. It doesn't happen across books.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, cool. I think I might spend some time moving through the rest of these. I enjoyed this one quite a bit.
I think you will like the next one even more. I think the fifth one may make you want to tear your hair out, but it's one of the more interesting ones. And then the seventh book is kind of rough for me. Yeah, sixth book is still good, but it's like a downhill slide from 4. 4 is like the peak. Yeah.
I don't remember how many of the movies I've seen, but again, I never had the emotional buy-in to Harry Potter that I've had to some of the other properties out there. It doesn't particularly bother me that I haven't seen them.
Yeah.
But the Marvel Cinematic Universe, once Endgame was done, I just really haven't cared since then. I think I've missed a dozen movies, and
who knows?
Yeah.
Hard to keep track. They're releasing so many properties these days.
Yep.
Yeah. And they're all forgettable, except for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which you should see.
What happens in Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Which one is that?
That's Rocket's origin story.
Oh, yeah, I did in fact see that one.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of them. The
can
ones
skip
that
everything
are
else.
largely forgettable.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, off on another tangent. What's next? What's the next book?
Oh, I thought we needed a rip-roaring good adventure, so we are going to read a little Michael Crichton with Eaters of the Dead.
I love Michael Crichton, and I love this book. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, well, we will see you in 2 weeks.
See you in 2 weeks.